A severe natural disaster in Brazil in 2009, killing over 600 people. A dog named Leo stayed at his owner's grave for days. In 1971, civil rights activist Anne Atwater was forced to work with KKK leader Ellis. Later, Ellis renounced the Klan, tore up his card, and dedicated the rest of his life to fighting for equality. Trainer Yuri Kuklichev losing a chess game to his cat, 1980s. Romania, 1946. Gypsies practiced healing backs by sitting a bear on them. A race education class at a school for German girls, 1943. In 1871, American lawyer Clement Vallandigham was defending a man accused of murder after a bar fight. He built the defense on the idea that the victim accidentally shot himself while pulling out a pistol from his pocket in an awkward position. Vallandigham wanted to demonstrate this by placing a gun, which he believed was unloaded, in his own pocket. As he pulled it out, he accidentally shot himself. He died from the wound, and his client was acquitted. In ancient Rome, slaves who survived an epidemic were called immunes. They were sent to clear away corpses, and if they survived that, they were freed and received immunitas. This is how the word immunity originated. Volcanologists Maurice and Katia Kraft, who witnessed 150 eruptions and often risked their lives for science. In 1991, they and 39 others died during the collapse of a lava dome at Mount Unzen, Japan. John Snow, an English doctor from the 19th century who single-handedly uncovered the causes of the cholera epidemic, but other doctors did not believe in his theories. The Iron Maiden, a terrifying torture device for heretics. It was a sarcophagus with 20-centimeter spikes. When closed, they pierced the body, intentionally missing vital organs. U.S. Army disperses WWI veterans demanding early payment of veteran bonuses, 1932. Pompeii excavations using Giuseppe Fiorelli's plaster casting method. American scientist James Stuckey and volunteer Judy Creedon demonstrating the human body's ability to conduct electricity during a lecture in New York, 1966. Salvador Dalí, 1947. Between 1971 and 1989, the Aversion Project was implemented in military hospitals in South Africa, which was aimed at eradicating homosexuality. First of all, it is surprising that priests diagnosed the homosexuals. Corporal Adil Sahin and Lieutenant Hall, the last living Turkish and Australian participants of the Battle of Gallipoli, at the very spot where they tried to kill each other 75 years before this meeting, 1990. The border between Vietnam and Cambodia, fortified with poisoned bamboo stakes, 1972. A tradition of American military sailors. When crossing the equator for the first time, newcomers had to adopt this interesting pose, 1944. The first match between Madrid's Real and Barcelona, 1929. These are now the most decorated football clubs in the world. In 1923, jockey Frank Hayes won a race at Belmont Park in New York despite being dead. He suffered a heart attack mid-race but remained in the saddle until the end. German soldiers help a Frenchman stuck in the mud at Verdun, WWI, 1916. USA, 1950s. FBI fingerprint storage. To escape violence, a man fled Burma for Bangladesh, carrying his paralyzed parents 160 kilometers, 100 miles, over 7 days. A gay wedding organized in 1921 by the young party member of the Baltic Fleet, Afanasi Shor. Shor hoped for praise and rewards from his superiors and gathered about 100 gay men, whom he then tried to accuse of a counter-revolutionary conspiracy. Soviet Union. Gold prospectors climbed the Chilkoot Pass to reach the Klondike Goldfields, Alaska, 1898. The scale of repression in the USSR knew no bounds. In 1938, 502 people were executed in one day, including 3 cleaners. 3 poor elderly women were declared enemies of the people. Rally for abortion legalization, Italy, 1975. Men in a bear pulling a car out of the mud, Russia, 1987. This is a harvest festival in Indonesia. Locals dig up their deceased relatives from their graves and then bury them back into the ground after the festival. Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary, the first to conquer Everest, 1953. First day of black student Dorothy Counts at Harry Harding High School, USA, 1957. She was one of the first black students admitted, but withdrew after only 4 days due to harassment. Teeth sharpening among Indonesian tribes, 1938. A World War II propaganda poster. Japan actively campaigned against colonial powers, targeting empires like Great Britain. One of the earliest versions of a diving suit. An aerial photograph of a field where German soldiers held Soviet POWs near Kharkov, 1942. One of many variants of Vietnamese combat traps. When an American soldier fell into such a pit, his own weight would turn him into mince. American cavalrymen by the giant sequoia, grizzly giant. Strangely enough, no one cut this tree down, and it still exists today. USA, 1900. This is a screw gag, which doctors used to place in a patient's mouth during surgery to prevent them from screaming. Sometimes, the patient was also hit on the head with a rubber mallet, and the surgery was performed quickly before they regained consciousness. Kim Jong-un, with his father, leader of North Korea, Pyongyang, 1990s. A 107-year-old former slave and his wife listened to a Ku Klux Klan preacher. Talladega, 1948. During the Franco-Prussian War, when the Germans besieged Paris in 1870 for 5 months, food shortages quickly arose in the city. Common products ran out, and Parisians began eating horse meat, then cats, dogs, and rats. When that meat was also exhausted, chefs began purchasing animals from zoos. After antelopes, camels, and zebras, the turn came for the 2 Parisian elephants, Castor and Pollux. By comparison, during the more than 2-year blockade of Leningrad, its residents did not touch any animals from the zoos. If today it's the Beatles, then what will tomorrow bring? Christian rally against the Beatles, California, 1966. The Last Kiss, 1987. A worker accidentally left a broom and bag near the statue of Supreme Leader Kim Il-sung. If the culprit had been found, they would have faced harsh punishment or even death. North Korea. Ella Williams, aka Madame Abomah, was 7 feet 6 inches, 2.25 meters, tall. She became a famous performer in the US and Europe. French colonial officers of the Ivory Coast. Today, the country is referred to by the French name Côte d'Ivoire to avoid reminders of what the French were really after. Ghana, 1915. Attempt to cure a child suffering from rickets by passing them through a hole in a healing tree. Sweden, 1918. 66 years later, this soldier's granddaughter found this photo and was horrified to discover that her grandfather was a fascist who served in a detachment involved in mass killings. The first border post set up after the U.S. war with Mexico, 1848. Mexicans would often scratch insulting words on it about the occupiers, which led to this symbolic sign being surrounded by an iron fence. After losing 13,000 soldiers in the war with Mexico, the USA gained territory equal in size to all of Central and Western Europe. A 19th century gun for hunting waterfowl, capable of killing around 50 birds with one shot. The first interracial marriage in Mississippi, held in 1970, became a significant event in the state's history. Japanese soldiers abused Chinese prisoners during the Nanjing Massacre, 1938. How women's swimsuits have changed. In 1920s Beijing, there were so many horse-drawn carriages and rickshaws that desperate authorities tightened the punishment for speeding. This man was unlucky. Chinese traffic police put a board on him to wear for a week to think about traffic rules. A doctor examines a Buchenwald prisoner, 1945. Integrating black students will turn schools into jungles, into racial jungles, said a young Joe Biden in 1977. The Great Depression of the 1930s put millions of Americans out of work. Many competitors entered grueling dance marathons, sometimes dancing for weeks or months without rest, hoping to win money or secure food and lodging. Luftwaffe. Obergefreiter hides his face in shame after surrendering. Belgium, 1945. French soldiers shoot a German prisoner of war. France, 1914. A policeman and an elderly woman during protests against a new tax in central London, 1990. A banquet of disfigured faces, dinner for French soldiers who were disfigured during World War I, Paris, 1925. Residents of Hiroshima pray towards the epicenter of the explosion on the first anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, 1946. A cat runs across the street. During a street battle in Beirut, Lebanon, 1980s. Circus elephant from the Ammar brothers plowing land in occupied France, 1941. The FBI feared that an intimate encounter between Marilyn Monroe and John F. Kennedy was captured on a secret tape. While the footage has never been made public and the FBI denies JFK's presence, rumors of its existence have persisted for decades. World Championship of Sitting on a Pole, Netherlands, 1971. A test of the strength of a kiss on a lie detector, 1939. Lumberjacks posing on a giant stump of a sequoia known as Mark Twain in California, USA, 1891. The battleship Slava after the Battle of Moon Sound, 1917. Imagine your terror during battle if you had to serve on this vessel. Female students on the street during Emperor Hirohito's speech on Japan's surrender, 1945. Advice from a Russian children's magazine on how to point out a black person, 1904. One of medicine's greatest moments, Toronto, 1922. Doctors Banting and Best injected insulin into children dying of diabetic comas. One by one, they woke up. To ensure the cure remained accessible to everyone, the scientists sold the patent for just $1. A young fan at an Elvis Presley concert, Philadelphia, USA, 1957. A small girl in rags collects precious grains of wheat, USSR, 1921. A Palestinian teenager shoots a slingshot at an Israeli Air Force helicopter, West Bank, 1988. A British soldier at the grave of his friend, Gallipoli, 1915. A woman takes a big black cigar in her mouth, USA, 1924. The first phone call by an Aborigine, Australia, 1975. An awkward moment caught on camera, Germany, 1930s. Allied and Soviet soldiers parody Hitler on the famous Reich Chancellery balcony, Berlin, 1945. U.S. delegate displays a Soviet submachine gun captured by American forces in July 1950 at the UN Security Council, accusing the USSR of supplying weapons to North Korea. Ormer Locklear is considered the founder of wing walking. In 1920, he died in a plane crash while filming his movie. African king riding on a subject holding an umbrella, German East Africa, 1913. A men's urinal on the streets of France, 1920s. Potato chips were invented by accident, or rather, out of spite. In 1853, Chef George Crumb sliced potatoes paper thin to mock a customer who kept complaining his fries were too thick. Soviet soldiers and an officer drinking with Americans to celebrate victory, 1945. Edith Piaf and Prisoners, Germany, 1944. During a performance at a camp, the singer took a photo with 120 prisoners. Upon returning to Paris, she sent the photo to an underground workshop where the prisoners' faces were re-photographed for fake documents. She later returned to the same camp, hiding the documents in a suitcase with a false bottom. She smuggled out some people as musicians, while others escaped later. Brazilian Gold Rush, 1980s. Finnish soldiers sent a Russian prisoner to persuade his commander, who barricaded himself in a dugout, to surrender, 1941. Group portrait of a women's hockey team, Canada, 1916. Chinese justice. A man is publicly flogged for breaking the law, 1900. A glimpse into historic public punishment systems. Police photos of 27-year-old John Wojtowicz, sentenced to 20 years for robbing a bank to pay for a sex change operation for his lover, 1972. Spectacular scene in Tehran, 1972. Carpets drying in the open air, Iran. Francesco Lentini, a man with a rare developmental anomaly from the island of Sicily. He was born in 1889 with 3 legs and 2 sexual organs, earning his living by working in a circus. In the Congo, Belgians cut off the hands of locals as punishment for poorly performed rubber-gathering work, late 19th century. Famous Wild West brothel of Jenny Botters, Arizona, USA, 1896. Prostitute's timer. In the late 19th century, French prostitutes kept sets of candles like these. Each candle burned for about 7 minutes and was lit at the beginning of a session. Many will smirk, just 7 minutes. Many will call the girls lazy, and they wouldn't be wrong. Public execution, Persian Empire, 1910. Ivory traders in the Great Lakes region, Africa, 1880s. In public libraries of medieval Europe, books were chained to the shelves due to the high value of each copy. Whether this clip sparked joy, anger, or just a bit of annoyance, I want to hear your thoughts below. Stick around for part 2 coming soon. Please hit like and subscribe to support the channel. See you!